So what I'm going to do is be live here, and I'm going to find a link, and I'm writing basically all over to Facebook on LinkedIn, and people can come and watch it that way. Life's a lot easier that way. Let's just do it in a simple way. So thanks everyone for bearing with us and for tuning in. Over to the Facebook for the live show is posted on LinkedIn. Let's get on with it. Hey, Johnny, nice to see you. Good to see you, Daniel, as well. Laurie Heath Knudson's here too. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully the connection is good and we can crack on and get on with our lives. Good. So I'm going to just make this full screen now. Yeah, so let's start over. So the idea is that we're going to cover warming an audience today. It was this topic that you guys all voted for. So thank you so much for doing that. The Trusty Entrepreneur Business Group over on Facebook voted that last night, overwhelmingly, in fact, for that one. I had so many questions last week on the sales Q&A that I thought I might even offer a part 2 to that. But warming an audience was the one overwhelmingly people wanted. And in fact, so much so that across all the platforms, we had so many questions. I've had to cut the questions back. So I've selected 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. I reckon I had a dozen of them. So we're going to have a slightly small one today. Back garden today, not of my house, but I'm actually in the east of Belgium. At a holiday park with family. So they're off in the swimming pool at the moment. I'm going to join them in a second. It's sweltering heat. It's something like 34 degrees. Which is kind of disgusting. So I'm going to just sweat it through for about half hour or so and then finish up. So thanks very much everyone for watching. Let me know, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you hear okay? Hopefully the reception's good here too. Nice to see you, Carolina. Good to see you, Denise, as well. Today's subject is warming an audience. Put in the comments hashtag team live if you're watching live or hashtag ropey tech if you're able to watch right now, or hashtag replay team replay if you're watching a bit later. So never mind those on LinkedIn. Do you know what, I said this earlier, but it's really a lovely thing when people say things like, I mean, I'm getting messages literally just now, people on LinkedIn saying like, I thought it was going to be on and things like that. I'm really looking forward to live stream, and each week you know, I make sure I'm on time, because if I've ever been late, I think I have a couple of times in the past, people are like, where is it? Is it not on? I can't find it. Are you okay? Is everything all right? So that's a really nice thing. It means people are really kind of tuned into it. Good to see you, Daniel. Thanks for the commentary, and Denise as well. Hi, good to see you too. So let's start off with the incentive. In the Entrepreneur Business Group this week, or rather last week, we had a competition which was really simple. It was to win the Basics of Sales course, and the question was, what's the most effective tool for selling? The winning comment was the one with the most reactions and engagement, and Patrick Ward actually won with an overwhelming amount. And Patrick Ward likes to talk about piano bars. This is a favorite topic. Which is talking about piano bars, and he's actually written, piano bars are the most effective tool for selling because no one can say no to a piano bar. Now I'm going to take his joke and turn it into something valuable here, because in truth what he's talking about is something that's really useful in selling. What Patrick is talking about is the part that really kind of lubricates the relationships. The reason why he talks about piano bars a lot is because whenever there's offline networking events such as LinkedIn Locals or an Entrepreneur Business Live event, which we recently had a couple of months back in San Francisco, then we decamped to Vegas afterwards. We went to a piano bar, and he's been to several with other people as well. And what it is that after you've done the kind of the business networking event, you actually have downtime, and you have downtime with people, and his choice is piano bars. The reason why this is important is because that's where the fun is, and so that's where the connection's really made. And if you think about any of your close friends, your connections are really made when you hang out with them in a social setting. So actually he's more right than I think that he's got enough wit to realize he was more right than possible anyway. And so jokes aside, he's actually really on point. And what he's really saying here, if I want to kind of use this valuably, is that you can't say no to a piano bar. What he's really saying is you can't say no to the social side. And when it comes to a tool for selling, the best tool is relationship building. If I think about people I interact with and work with who are my clients, or work with in the sense of they provide me with a service, it's those people that have had a relationship with me born out of something social where we've ended up in a really good place. And so what this is about saying, whenever you get the chance to hang out with someone socially, take it, especially if that person represents a service that you might need, because in turn you do end up with some really valuable connections, and then you tend to want to work with those people. And the mechanics are really simple. What's really happening is you're building familiarity. You get to see someone in a social setting with their guard down a bit. You get to chat loads. You get to engage and connect and bond, and that builds trust. And of course, then you want to work with that person. So if I needed someone to really understand words and copy and be, in the future, if I ever needed an editor-in-chief or someone who could help on that level, Patrick's a really great example. Is he the best in the world? I don't know, but he's a good friend, and I know he does that thing. And I'd like to think that if he needed help with any kind of selling strategy, for instance, he might think the same of me, and that's the way it works, you see. So that's why, in many ways, his comment was a really strong one. And so he wins the Basics of Sales course, and he can make use of that if he wishes. So well done to you, Patrick Ward. Let's get into the questions then, because we've got limited time today, and it seems limited bandwidth and reception as well. So hopefully, if you can just let me know if this is still working, you should hopefully have a strong connection still. Let me know in the comments whereabouts you're watching from as well. And let's shout out the people who are asking questions as we go. Let's start off with Judy Fox from over in Richmond, Virginia. And she's said, Richard, how do you, Richard Moore, warm people and determine how warm someone is before trying to ask questions about their pain points? So this is really simple, and this is going to be a theme for today. What I actually look for is the opportunity to talk about someone's issues or needs and talk about how I can help and be a service to someone. But I'm looking for a cue, and that cue for me always takes the form of a compliment. So I'm looking out for someone to say, do you know what, you're really helpful, thank you so much. And someone coming to me, DM or something. I had one literally yesterday say, do you do any sales coaching? I need some help with some kind of large deals I've got with some big companies coming up, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Could you help me out? And that's a perfect example of someone approaching me. That is the cue. That is where I know someone's warm enough, because they are coming to me. So I've earned the right to say, yes, I can help. Let's go from here. So I'm looking for is as much as possible a definite that I will get that person saying, yeah, absolutely, I'm keen to work with you. And it's either them coming to me and being explicitly saying that, or implicitly saying they want to work with me by giving me a cue. And that cue typically is complimentary about me. If someone was to write, I really love your stuff, I think you're inspirational, or you're always so on point, or you know what you're talking about when it comes to sales, and so on. If someone talks like that or says words to that effect, it means that they're in a position where they are, for want of a much better word, ripe for me to work with. So that is how I determine if someone is ready for me to kind of take the next step with them and say, and now take the lead. And that's what anyone should do if they are selling something. If you get that cue and that kind of level of engagement, it's your job then to say, right, now I'm going to take the lead. So let's see. I mean, I can definitely help. Let's hop on a call or whatever it might be. How do I warn people to get to that point? Well, I just provide a constant stream of quality content about the thing I do, so around the ecosystem. So it's not always about how I work with people, how I can help in sales. It's often things like giving tips and helping out and giving value against the general area within which people pay me for work. And it's kind of intuitive then that I help people with that kind of thing. So online engagement, I'm a specialist at that, and I've proven myself to be so. And I also, things like sales and social selling now in the online space, it's kind of clear that I operate in that space because that's what the content reflects. And so in turn, people know to ask me about that, and they often say things like, this has been really useful, and that is the cue. That is what I'm looking for, Judy, to kind of say, to kind of validate the fact that I can step further up now and actually engage with people a bit more. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you, those of you piling in from LinkedIn. That's really good for you to see here. Hi there, Diana. Nice to see you, Christina, as well. Let's go on to the next question. That's a really good one to kick us off, Judy. Let's be really clear about what we mean by warming an audience as well. Warming an audience is creating a sense of, let me restart. Warming an audience is about doing certain things that move people to a place where they feel naturally receptive to what it is you have to offer. So what I mean by this is that people consume your content or have some sense of you, and they subconsciously decide that they want to engage with you. Their receptivity is up because there's a level of familiarity typically and a level of trust. That means they would like to learn more from you, or at least be in orbit around you more, or stick around and engage with you. That means a warmed enough audience that you can take it to the next step. And that next step might be that you ask them more questions about what it is they do, you engage on more of a social level, but you move them to a place where they feel there's an element of trust, and therefore the receptivity is in place for you to offer something. If you go cold with people when they're not warmed up, it's harder because typically they don't have the receptivity to you because they are a cold contact. There's no connection with you yet. And so you are working on the basis of trust and hope that everything will be okay and that they will happen to be in the market for your products. That's a bit dangerous. Warming an audience is so important nowadays because they will get spammed all the time. And if you can warm them effectively, what you're really doing is getting that person to feel comfortable around you. If they feel comfortable around you, they're more likely to be fine with engaging and taking things from there. Okay, so that's the way to look at it. Let's look at the next question from Falguni Katira over in San Francisco. She said, Richard, how do you break in the sales conversation? How do you create a break in the sales conversation after having created intrigue and excitement with valuable content beforehand? It's kind of along the same lines. What I'm trying to do is I'm warming people as I go, but I also need to understand I need to pivot out. So it's not just content all the time and hope, it's a very, very difficult play to only do content and expect only organic. It works if you can go at scale, and I spend a lot of money putting content out in, almost like adverts to make sure it gets in front of people, but it's far more effective to look at those that are receptive and then slide into the DMs, as they say, and then continue the conversation on a one-on-one basis. That doesn't mean you now pivot into sales, but what it does mean is you can start getting to know person deeper. Just be normal, have a conversation. And what I find is that by organically having a nice normal conversation with someone, you end up with people basically deciding to ask you about your work or offering up information. And the more familiar and comfortable people get with you, the more they will give you detail about where they're struggling. And it's like a family member. You've got a huge amount of earned right to ask them how they're doing. And they will tell you typically because they are close to you and they feel nice and familiar. And it's the same here. If someone's feeling comfortable with talking to you, then they will move to a place where they're going to say, do you know what, this is really helpful. Just think about maybe moving around a bit because then you're not in the direct sunshine. Is this a little bit more helpful? Can you see me better there? So the key thing here is to make sure that what you're trying to do is get someone feeling okay with speaking to you. If they feel okay with speaking to you, they will offer up more information about what it is they have to say. And getting more practical, there'll be a point when if you speak with someone about themselves enough, they will eventually say, oh my God, how about you? Sorry, I've been talking about me all this time. What is it you do? And things like that. And if you can position yourself as a bit of an expert, just be helpful, then people will start saying things like, that's really useful. I really could do with that. And if they don't, well, they probably don't need it. But someone might, and that's the idea. So you do it with enough people, you're fine. If I think back to when I first started social selling, so selling online, if you like, it's 4 or 5 years ago, and every day I would open up 20 new conversations with people, and I would start. That was my goal every day, 20 new conversations, and enough people would be like, I really need help with that. I'm really glad you brought that up. That's really useful. Thank you so much. And it would take it from there. It would really work. So it doesn't have to be difficult, and it really is taking cues from the offline world. It's spending time with people, and asking them, simple questions about what's going on in their world, and eventually they will offer up information. And that's where it's obvious that if you get that cue, if you get that moment where they say, that's really helpful, I never looked at it that way, that's your opportunity to help there a bit better. That looks like it's better for people who've got a little bit less glare there on the screen. So thank you very much. And we're covering warming an audience today. So thanks very much everyone who's watching. Hopefully some of you are watching from LinkedIn. What we're going to do later As bandwidth's a problem when you're in the country, in a foreign country. I'm using like joke Wi-Fi here. So what we'll do is I'll post this onto LinkedIn, and also it will obviously go onto IGTV and YouTube as usual. Let's go through a couple more questions. We won't go on all day today because there's the bandwidth is struggling, and we've of course got millions of questions, but I'll only do a few of them. Plus I'm sweltering, and like 34 degrees, something like 100 degrees odd wherever you guys are in the States, I think. So let's do a couple more. Daniel Nunez from Phoenix. The guy knows heat. If you're used to Phoenix, how do you leverage pressure points without becoming a jerk? That's a really good question. You know, if there's someone saying like, I've got this issue, and I've got this problem, for example, how do you leverage that? What you don't want to do is be so direct with someone that you make them feel uncomfortable. But it's just important to keep exploring. The key is at this point, Daniel, to get that person talking a load more. So you just keep asking questions about it. And what you're looking for is types of question. So you're asking often P questions. So there's this type of selling called spin selling, SPIN. So spin stands for S for situational questions. So questions are just about what's going on in their world. But when they come up with answers to P questions, what their problems are, and often they're just offering that information, you need to move to I questions that are implication. The key here, Daniel, is to ask them things along the lines of, what's it going to be like if that doesn't get fixed? You know, encouraging them or inviting them to explore how things would be if they didn't fix their problem. And what happens is that you're gently getting them to kind of spend some time around that pain. And actually, you can be really powerful then, because then they start saying things like, do you know what, I do need to get this thing fixed. At which point you can ask N questions, which are need-based. So, you know, what do you think it would be that you need right now? And that's when people tell you the solution they're after. And it's very straightforward at that point. So I do feel that's a really good way to do it. Explore with spin questions. And then again, you're going to be looking for the cue. You're looking for that guy, that person to say, do you know what, yes, that bit would help. Yeah, I actually really need that thing. Don't say you can do it. Explore what that person might need, and have just a conversation, just kind of helping them out. What is it that they might need to help them? And once you establish that, then you're the person to offer it. That's how it would really work. But if you're not being a jerk, if it's an organic approach, if it's an approach where you're you know, where you're just doing a conversation rather than being too aggressive and forcing it, does tend to work quite well. So think about that. Take your time, go slowly. There's all the time in the world for this, because no one likes to be sold to. And the moment you get too aggressive, or as you say, you know, you come across as a bit of a jerk, what happens is you kind of lost them. But if you can keep it chilled, then you take as long as you need to take. The pivot moment is when you get that person to say, that's a really good point. Yeah, do you know what, yeah, actually that is what I need. Or yeah, you've got it. You see what I mean? Anything where it's kind of, they're being agreeable, there's an affirmation, or ideally they're giving you some kind of confirmation that you know what you're talking about. That's the point where it really is like, that's your cue. It's time to say, do you know what, I know I can help here. So hopefully that helps a bit. That's a really good question. Next one, let's take it from Mirav Levine. Is it Levine? I don't even know. I've never asked you. So Mirav Levine has asked from Maryland, Richard, how much free content should you produce before the audience is hot enough to pitch? I'm really sorry. The answer to this is a bit of a how long is a piece of string one. What this means is that, honestly, and I'm saying this as an authority because I've done it, some people, cold traffic, will see an advert and instantly they will want to buy because they happen to be in the market for it. Other people also experience this, will take months. Some people literally never buy anything because they've been conditioned themselves that buying from someone they don't technically know is a dangerous thing. Some people are just very, very closed. So there's no limit or amount. If you're working at scale, and what I mean is ads with retargeting, what you need to be trying to do is say, probably I need to retarget people a couple of times before I move to the ask. In my opinion, that works fine. If you do it too long, then they kind of move to the friend zone, and the conversion doesn't work as well. If you do it too early, you turn them off so quick. You know, I can't offer $3,000 a month coaching to someone on my first advert because I've got to hope that they really, really, really want it. And it's quite hard to target people that way. But what I do think that is that what I can do is say, I can work at scale with a certain formula, but with the individuals, if you're doing coaching, for instance, then one-on-one, you need to take your time and recognize some people will convert after a few bits of content. You could just see it, you know, you can see it in the fact that they start commenting, they start engaging, start sharing, they're really keen. And then you break off again into DMs and you engage with them manually, one-on-one. And what happens is you start realizing that person really likes you and really thinks that there's value in what you have to offer, and you go from there. Some people need months, some people don't need much warming. Sometimes you're not on your game, and sometimes you need to take a while to get back into it and warm them up, and sometimes you do it wrong, and so it takes a bit longer to warm them back up again. You see what I mean? So everyone's a bit different. But the answer of how much free content you provide for an audience is, well, there's no end. You just keep doing it indefinitely, and it allows this conveyor belt to continue providing warm or warmer or hotter or slightly warm people in your direction, and you work accordingly. That's the way to look at it, in my opinion. Roger Wilkinson on Facebook has said, I like that you're doing the warming up episode outside where it looks slightly warm. I don't know if you can convert this to Fahrenheit, guys, but it's like 34 degrees here. In the UK, we've had, you know, it's like a big old heat wave. This is in the east of Belgium at the moment, where I am with a family in a holiday camp, and it's stinking hot. So it's not entirely appropriate to do this live stream with my shirt off, I suppose. So I'm certainly not. But yeah, so that makes sense. That's the way to look at it. And yes, Christine as well. The spin bit is brilliant. Yes, spin is important in terms of understanding questioning. If you're engaging with a client, even if it's existing clients, this isn't for direct selling, this is often for account management as well. Spin questioning is really important. Every question you ever ask is a SP, I, or N question. So either a situation question, just simply understanding the lie of the land and asking them things as they go, how does your business work, and so on. P questions, so exploring what the problems are. I questions, exploring the implications of not fixing them. So P questions are very much like the existing issues and the past problems they've had. I questions are more looking to the future. What would it be like if that wasn't fixed? You know, how's that going to impact you if we don't get that done? I mean, what does 6 months from now without that solved look like, kind of questions? And when they explore that with you, they need something to fix it. They're starting to feel really down, like if there's a graph of emotion, they're in a bit of a rock bottom moment. Don't want to twist the knife too much. That's the point when you now pivot into the N questions, the need questions. Rather than just telling them what you think they need, you actually ask them. So it's things like, I'm being joined by chickens. You ask them things like, you know, so I mean, based on what you've told me, what do you feel you need? What would help here? And then of course, when they give you those answers, that's where you say, well, here's the solution I can offer, and you take it from there. That's the way to look at it. So SPIN are really valuable questions to work with. Okay, yeah, Jedi Hill, that's 92 to 93 degrees, kind of hot. Remember, I'm English as well. Plus, I'm like, my mother was redhead, so my father had dark skin, but my mother was redhead, so I've got kind of the downside of that kind of complexion. Although I kind of have a bit of tolerance, I actually do quite well in the sunshine. Still hot as we go. So I'm going to finish soon because I want to go to the pool and get myself an ice cream as well as let's go for a couple more questions. So James Perry has asked, what's the difference? He's in the UK, so Team UK, well done. Difference in sales conversations with a corporate versus an individual for warming up. So what are the differences, if any? So for instance, he asked one-on-one coaching versus corporate coaching. Well, I've done both. And the difference actually is that the terminology might be slightly different, more expansive to describe a group of people over a business or an individual if you were coaching one-on-one, but actually the approach is the same, James. Because if you think about it, the wins you're really giving a company are the same every time. Look good, save money, save time, make money, things like that. And I remember one of the recent corporate gigs I got, the pitch, if you like, which was more them inviting me in, but still kind of establishing if I was a good guy. It was very much me, rather than explaining my process, being really clear that they were going to get all their time back. Because what I was really selling them, of course, they're going to look good because they're going to come across as the best. They're going to make more money, and that certainly is being proven at the moment. But what's happened is that it was positioned as, you guys don't have time, so let me do it for you. And that win for them was absolutely huge. And so it's no different to coaching and to selling to an individual. And in fact, you're speaking to I've often sat in rooms with several people who are stakeholders when it's a corporate gig, but it's the same principle. It's just the terminology is different. It's like you're going to save time rather than you will save time. You see what I mean? So I genuinely haven't found, in my experience, and I've done this for many, many, many years, that there's any difference between singular or corporate other than like the terminology. And if you stick with those kind of wins as the benefits or wins to them, then they get it. And it's, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a corporate. You might think, well, they have to have, they're responsible to their teams. They have to provide them with training. That's part of their responsibility policy. No, it's that underneath the bonnet of that is we need to save time, we need to make money, we need to look good, and so on. And that's really what you're selling. Let's do one more question. So we've got Jedi Hill here over in Ohio. What's the best content or technique to build curiosity and get people to take action to learn more? I think that you need to think about starting conversations. Every piece of content and all your techniques should be provoking some kind of reaction, ideally one way it starts conversations. The reason why is because conversations allows people to have a bit of back and forth and open up a bit, and as they do that more, you are creating an environment where they feel more comfortable. The more people talk and get a good response back, the more they're feeling comfortable, and if they feel comfortable, they start feeling familiar with you because you're the reason why this is happening, and that familiarity leads to trust. And the trust is where you can move to a place where you can start asking more probing questions because you earn the right to do so, you see. So that's the way I look at it. I'm going to finish there because I'm starting to lose weight from the amount of sweat coming out of me at the moment. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I will be back in the UK on Monday next week. I'm really excited because September is huge. We've got Entrepreneur Business Live Barcelona on the 18th. We've got Miami on the 26th as well. So there's a lot happening. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and bearing with us on the tech. If you're watching later on LinkedIn or on IGTV or YouTube or listening on the podcast, then I appreciate it a huge amount. Thank you for all of you who sent through questions. So Valguni, James, Daniel, Jedi, Mirav, and I haven't answered Fagoni's actually, sorry, and Judy Fox's. All of you, like loads of you who asked questions didn't get round to, I apologize, but thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. Have a wonderful time. I'm off for a massive ice cream and a swim, and I'll take care. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.